With the release of the Switch 2, Tears of the Kingdom has seen its first update in almost 2 years. It's a day many of us have been dreading, but I'm here to tell you it's not as bad as you may think. Today we'll be talking about all the changes with the 1.3/1.4 game update, as well as differences between the Switch 1 and Switch 2 editions of the game. This video is going to focus exclusively on changes and differences as they pertain to glitches. So if you found this video looking for general gameplay and content updates, that's not what we're talking about here. But if you stick around, you may just learn some neat tech to try out on your own. So I want to start by listing out the main bullet points, but I also want to encourage you not to click off the video as soon as I'm done doing it. These are just generalized information, and almost all of them has much more nuance that I'm going to talk about after. So with that in mind, the main points are all glitches from 1.2.1 are still functioning on 1.3.0 and 1.4.0. Nearly every glitch will still function on the Switch 2 edition of the game. Auto-build blueprint sharing appears to have no limitations on what Zonai devices can be used. Item transfer, however, appears to have several limitations on what can and can't be used. Many glitches are going to be harder on the Switch 2 edition of the game. However, that increased difficulty can be removed under certain conditions. Those are the main points of interest, though everything you see with an asterisk on the end needs far more context to it. And the first thing I want to start with is the version differences. Chances are, this is the first time many of you are hearing about version 1.3.0 at all, and that makes complete sense. The physical Switch 2 edition cartridges for Tears of the Kingdom are shipped with version 1.3.0, but since the system forces a game update before it will even launch, most of you probably never even noticed. As far as we know, 1.3.0 and 1.4.0 are identical versions, and to our knowledge, 1.3.0 is used exclusively in China, likely in relation to the fact that they have a unique Switch model with Tencent. As far as glitches go, every glitch from 1.2.1 will work on 1.4.0, with hydroclipping being the only slight exception. While hydroclip still works, it does require a different setup in order to generate enough lag to actually clip. This is due to a slight performance increase that came with 1.4.0. While I was making this video, Nintendo released 1.4.1. However, this update appears to mainly be focused on bug and translation fixes, with the only 2 glitches known to be patched being 2 that you have never heard of because they were just found on 1.4. As far as the Zelda Notes features go, auto-build blueprints utilizing glitched Zonai devices will maintain those glitched states when being sent through a QR code. As an example, this is a code for small hoverstones provided by Winterboy. Item transfer, however, does have several limitations. I'm just going to rip the band-aid off here. You cannot transfer the MSG. You will just end up getting an error. In terms of items with WST'd stats, when transferring those from Tears of the Kingdom to Tears of the Kingdom, these items appear to keep those illegal stats. So your 5-shot bows should be safe to transfer. As far as sending items from Breath of the Wild to Tears of the Kingdom, if the items had its stats illegally altered with something like WMC, then those illegal stats will get reverted. You can't keep them. If the item doesn't exist in Tears of the Kingdom, you'll get a small sum of rupees in place of that item. However, if the item has a comparable equivalent in Tears of the Kingdom, it will instead become that other item. And that basically covers what we've learned about the Zelda Notes features. Now, in the interest of getting this video out to you faster, I'm going to cover the rest of the finer details with some notes, since they really don't require the same long-winded explanation as the last few points. All of my 1.2.1 glitches will still work on the Switch 2 edition of Tears of the Kingdom. The Switch 2 edition runs at 60 FPS compared to the Switch 1's 30 FPS. This makes timing-reliant glitches twice as hard to perform. Due to the increased performance, any moob tech that relies on memory overload, which for most of you will mean WST and forcing a Blood Moon, will no longer work on the Switch 2. Blood Moons can still be forced with the multi-shot opal method, though you may need to shoot 2 or 3 times to make it work. In the interest of FSFE, the no memory method of fuse storage shown in my videos is no longer reliable on the Switch 2 edition. If you're using my videos for FSFE, use the memory method of fuse storage instead. The last thing I want to touch on a bit more is the increased frame rate. While the 60 FPS increase does make a lot of glitches way harder to do, that FPS increase can actually be removed and reinstalled whenever you want. However, it does require some specific conditions. If you have a physical copy of the Switch 1 edition of Tears of the Kingdom and you've purchased the Switch 2 upgrade directly from the eShop, meaning you do not have it through Nintendo Switch Online, you can navigate to your virtual game cards menu and eject specifically the Tears of the Kingdom upgrade content, which will revert your game to 30 FPS and make glitches easier again. Be aware that doing this will also temporarily disable your second save file. The data in it will not be deleted, it will stay safe. However, you will not be able to access that save file until you reinsert the visual game card for that Switch 2 upgrade. There are ways to do this if you have the digital version or if you have the upgrade through NSO. However, I'm going to be talking about those in an independent video so as to not drag this video out. And that's everything we've learned about the version and console differences so far. I want to give a massive thank you to Toddy, Black Mars, and Armindo for helping me curate this information in the Discord, and a huge thank you to the entire glitch hunting community who's been working for over a week to get you this information. If you have any questions or having any difficulties with anything, both my Discord server and the Tears of the Kingdom Speedrun Discord server have dedicated glitch help channels for you to look for help in. The links for both of those can be found in the description. Thank you to this month's channel members. As always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.